I'm Charlie McKenna from Lily's Q, and today we're going to teach you how to do your smoked Thanksgiving turkey on the mill scale 94-gallon smoker. So we're out here outside. Basically what I do is I'll show you the method, and you can find this recipe actually at lilysq.com on how to smoke a turkey. But one of the things I really like to do with poultry is I really like to brine the poultry, whether it be chicken or whether it be turkey. And what a brine does is you're basically taking the piece of meat and you're soaking it or basically soaking it in a salt and like sugar and vegetable solution. And basically what that does is it allows the protein or the meat or the turkey or chicken to hold more moisture while it cooks, which will make your end product much more juicy than what you probably had in the past. It's an excellent way to build flavor into the product and kind of build those layers of flavor throughout the cook, as we've mentioned before in some of the videos. So easy way to brine a turkey is I like to use a little bit more sugar than salt in this brine for poultry. I really love kind of like bringing out the sweetness of the chicken or bringing out the sweetness of the turkey with a little bit more sugar than salt in the brine. You basically want the brine to soak 24 hours. So the night before you're gonna cook your turkey, then you wanna make sure that it's brined the night before. The easiest way I find to do it is I have this just Yeti load out 5-gallon bucket. The reason I love it for brining is it has a lid, so it helps push the product down into the brine, because as you'll see with product in a brine, it tends to kind of like wanna float up or come to the top. I'll pop this off. We'll take that lid, we'll set it out of the way. We got the turkey in the brine, and you can see we'll pull it out of the bucket. Now obviously I let this drain because we want to get as much of that brine off as possible. You do not need to rinse the turkey at all. The turkey's been soaking in the brine and it's basically in there, so it's nicely rinsed and clean. We have taken out, when we open the turkey, you do take out all the giblets and everything, and I don't really use those when I'm doing a turkey unless I'm going to use them in my gravy at the end. Now, for this a little bit, I will kind of just take this, I'll take a paper towel and kind of get some excess moisture off, especially down in the belly. I'll hold it up so it kind of drains out some of that moisture again. We'll just kind of pat it dry a little bit. You don't have to pat it too dry because obviously you want the rub to stick to it, but mainly I want the cavity to kind of empty out in water and not have as much moisture. It tends to hold a little bit more water inside the cavity of the bird than it does on the outside. So this is a 12-pound fresh turkey from a small farm out of Illinois. When I'm cooking any type of product, whether it be traditional spare ribs or St. Louis ribs, baby backs, we're cooking pork butts, we're cooking briskets, we're cooking turkey. One of my things is I really like to buy the best product possible. So I really like a fresh bird, never frozen, from a small farm that likes to cultivate and treat their animals properly. You're gonna get a better end product if you start with something great than if you try to start with something that's not as good and try to make it better. There's not a chef out there that can take something bad and make it great. There's only taking something great and making it greater. I have the bird sitting here. One of the things I also like to do besides brining is I like to truss the turkey, but you have to season the turkey as well first. So before I start to truss the turkey, I'll talk a little bit about what we're gonna use today. On the turkey, I really like to use these two rubs, which is the Lily's Q rub and the Lily's Q brisket pepper. Q rub obviously is a salt-based rub, has much more salt and sugar in it. It does have a touch of sugar to like help bring out sweetness of things. And it has some garlic and pepper in it. And then the brisket pepper is just a nice coarse pepper that we like to put on the bird to help with the flavor that goes really well with turkey. We're gonna smoke this bird in the mill scale. As we talked about, the smoking temp is gonna be somewhere between 250, right around 250 degrees, up to 275, right? We wanna try to keep our smoker in that range as consistent as possible. But around that time for a 12 bird is about 3.5, 4 hours. And I don't have one of those turkeys with the sensor in it. If I did, I would take that sensor out anyway. I really like to test the turkey in the thigh when I'm doing the temperature. So I always have my ThermoPen around handy so that I can test the temperature throughout the cook and make sure we're progressing as well as that I don't overcook it. I really like to cook everything to a temperature. And that's, for me, it's just more precise cooking, and it comes out with a better quality product, which is not overcooked at all. By seasoning the bird with the Q rub and brisket pepper, we'll start with the Q rub first. You know, you got to season the whole bird, so I do like to season the cavity. This is a big piece of meat, so you're trying to get salt and flavor in throughout the whole thing. So seasoning from the inside out also helps that. Now, I've seen other people where they stuff it with lemons or they put butter inside here. You can do all those things. for me, a simple smoked turkey is like the best turkey out there for Thanksgiving. It's better than a fried turkey. It's better than a roasted turkey. I've done multiple tests with multiple people, so I can already tell you that the smoked turkey usually wins. So what we got here is, I'll get the shaker with the Q-Rub in it, and we'll start to season up in the cavity of the bird. Now, as I said, we want to season the whole bird, so we're trying to season inside there to kind of try to help penetrate the seasoning from the inside out. You could stuff it with other flavorings. I would not cook your stuffing inside your turkey anymore. It's much better to cook the stuffing separate. Now we'll get into seasoning the bird. I really like to season the whole thing, so I'll flip it over and we'll start to season the back of the wings. I'll pull these out. I like to do it from just above like it's snowing almost, and it just sprinkles a nice even coat of this Q-Rub on the bird. Now some of it's gonna fall off as we like season this and truss the bird, but we can always go back and add the nice pretty seasoning at the end to make sure that it's gonna turn out nice and pretty for you. We'll season up here, up under the breast skin, up in the neck. As we go around, we'll start to slowly, turn the bird over, get the legs. Now that little bit of moisture from the brine obviously helps the Q-Rub stick to it. Go on this side again, pull this out, season up under the arm. Now, I really like to use these shakers because it makes it where you can get the rub directly on the meat, so you lose as much, because obviously seasonings tend to run relatively expensive, especially nowadays. So, got the main part of the bird seasoned. I'll open these arms up. Q-Rub is the important rub here because it's the salt, it's the flavor that it will enhance the turkey to its best. So I really like to get all in here. Now, I'll season the breast, but I'll probably come back and do this top breast again because we're gonna knock some off when we truss it. But I want it to start kind of keeping the moisture to the top of the bird, so that when we do go to season a little bit at the end to make sure that it's pretty, we got it all organized. Brush my hands off, kind of wipe the cutting board down a little bit, keep a nice clean space. So next thing is trussing the bird. It's very important that you truss your bird. Trussing means basically to tie the bird up. The mindset behind trussing a smoked turkey or any turkey for Thanksgiving is, one, it's gonna create that nice beautiful bird that sits on the table. Two, it's also gonna create a more even cooking from the thighs and legs to the breast. You can also use the legs up here to try and help protect the breast as much as possible, because we know the breast does cook in a little bit less time than, let's say, the thigh and leg does. But when you truss this bird, it's gonna help make a more even bird throughout, and they should finish at the same time. So we'll grab our butcher's twine here. I like to just pull off a decent sized piece. We'll set this down, the tip. Butcher's twine's not very expensive, so I like to make sure that I have enough to make sure the bird is nicely tied. Swip that off, kind of set it to the side. Now, I'll take this piece of twine, and kind of what I do is I like to get it on the right side. I like to get it a little bit longer because I'm going to wrap the right side around, but you have the tail of the turkey here, and you can see the tail here. I like to put this twine up under the tail, and then I come up and wrap the legs around, loop it once. Now I take this left hand and I kind of set that down, and I'll take the right hand and pull it diagonally across my body over here. Then I like to go right between the leg and the thigh, around like this, and I'll pull it down the wing. I don't want to put it across the breast because I'm trying to keep the breast as pretty as possible. I'll go up under the breast, tuck it up in the cavity around the neck, and then back around the breast and wing here, back around. Now that left side that I dropped, I do a cross pattern on that side as well over here, and you can see that I'm meeting in the back. Now, these two pieces are long enough, so I'll trim this down. All right. We'll set that excess string to the side. Now as I come over, I'll connect the two pieces. I'll push the legs in, and then I'll start to tie this up under here by wrapping around once, twice, kind of three times. That way I can just pull it nice and tight and kind of cinch it up. All right, we'll cinch those legs up as much as we can, and then we'll use the string to tie it off. Now, this has this little piece of excess, so I'll clean this off, set it to the side. Now what I do is I like to tuck the wings up underneath and use the tension from the wing to help tighten it a little bit. So I'll just tuck it up under here and up under that little clip. Right? And then we'll do the other one as well. Up under, and you can see it makes it a little bit tighter because we didn't tie around the wing to start. And as you can see, the legs pull in, the wings come in, and then it pushes that breast up nice and high. Hopefully the legs and thighs helps protect the breast a little bit. Now you see we've knocked a little rub off, and now's when we'll get into like more of the presentation rub, where we'll just kind of re-season it because some have fallen off. Nice and even on the breast. You can hold your hand down here and kind of like help spoon it onto the front, right? We'll let that stick. Now you have a nice, evenly seasoned bird with the Q-rub. Now we'll take some of the brisket pepper, just lightly pepper it. You know, some of the pepper falls off, but you can pat it on, touch. Do not rub it in, as we don't want to like rip the skin at all or make any striations into the meat. Turn this on the side. Get a little pepper on the wings. A little bit on the breast. So, you have your turkey all nice and trussed up, nice and tight, nice and beautiful, ready to go in the smoker. We're gonna put it here in the mill scale. As you can see, the cooker's sitting right at 250, a nice temperature to cook a turkey nice and low and slow. It'll make your turkey meat nice and moist and juicy, and you'll have a great smoked turkey for your Thanksgiving meal. All right, so we smoked our Thanksgiving turkey about 3.5 hours, could take up to 4 at the 250, 275 degree temperature. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this turkey out, and I'll present it to you. It's nicely beautiful golden brown, has a nice texture to it, very tender. And what we'll show you here is we'll open the mill scale cooker up. We'll grab this turkey out of here. We'll turn that, kind of drop this back down. So we got this smoked Thanksgiving turkey out of the mill scale cooker for you. Basically what we want to talk about now is we want to make sure that we're cooking it to the right temp. Now, obviously the FDA and everyone says you got to cook poultry to 165 degrees, but the problem with doing that is it overcooks the breast pretty drastically. So, because what happens is when you pull this out of the cooker, it still has residual heat, right? Which would take that 165 and pushes it up about 5 degrees. So, 5, 6, 7 degrees, depending on how hot your cooker was. But what I like to do is I'll take my thermopin and I'll probe it right in the thigh, being very careful not to put the probe next to the bone, because that will give you a false reading, because the bone will read hotter than the actual meat does. And what I like to do is I like to get it to about 157, 158 degrees. So by the time this bird is done carrying over, which is basically carryover cooking, the residual heat continuing to progress a little bit, it'll be at the right perfect temperature to have beautifully cooked thighs and legs, and also a beautifully juicy breast. Now, don't forget that you actually tied the turkey up, so you have to take that twine off before you start carving. All right, but we'll get back here and we'll snip it where we tied it. You just pull that off, up around from under there. We'll set that string to this end. I cut a little bit off here. So We got that piece in the back. Now, you have this beautiful smoked turkey that you can carve for your Thanksgiving meal. So that's a smoked turkey on the mill scale cooker. For more recipes and tips, you can follow us at lillysq.com.